Well, hello everyone. Welcome to today's calf chat from the Dairy, Calf and Heifer Association. My name is Julian Casas. I am a member of the Dairy Technical Service Team from Zoetis. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and I am extremely happy to introduce Dr. Juan Rodriguez, and today's topic, which is going to cover data management and best practices on data management. Before going into the deep of the presentation, I want to remind two different things. The first one is that you guys will have in the right side a comment section where you can post your questions, and we will monitoring throughout the presentation. And the second thing, also, this presentation will be also in Spanish on Thursday at the same time, basically. Yeah, so with that, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Juan Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez is part of the Dairy Technical Service Team, supporting the areas of Arizona, Southern California, Colorado, and New Mexico. He is originally from Venezuela and received his veterinary degree from Universidad Central de Venezuela and his master's in business administration at ESA, also in Venezuela. Following private practice until 2007, Dr. Rodriguez joined the Zoetis team, Pfizer at the time, in 2007, and he was part of the Latin American region technical department. Dr. Rodriguez joined the US team in 2011 as the territory manager for Arizona. And in 2013, he continued as the dairy production specialist with responsibilities in the same area in the Southwest. After 3 years in that position, Dr. Rodriguez joined the Dairy Technical Service Team in 2016, providing support to producers, veterinarians, and internal colleagues to ensure solutions to a broad array of animal health and production issues. Specifically applying knowledge and understanding of dairy health management concepts to make positive change that will bring value to the customers. Dr. Rodriguez obtained his U.S. veterinary medicine degree certification from the American Veterinary Medical Association, and he currently lives in Arizona with his wife, Annette, and his children, Benjamin and Evie. So with that, Dr. Rodriguez, thank you for joining us today in this important topic that I always hear this quote, you can't manage what you can measure. And you are going to lead us into that area that we are going to be able to measure and we are going to be able to manage it. So thank you for joining us, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Julian, and thank you to the Dairy, Calf and Heifer Association for this new invitation. It's always a pleasure to share some information and share with people around the country. So, the best practice in Johnston data. This topic, when I started looking at data, and I have to shout out to two names that come to my mind. First, Dr. Mark Kirkpatrick. He's a real expert on data management and data recording, and he was the one who created and incentivized all of us for recording data and also analyzing the results. And the second name is Dr. Overton. Dr. Mike Overton has been a fundamental piece in the Zoetis team, and in the nation is recognized for his focus on the people to not only record good data, but also analyze and have the best approach and the best results so you can make decisions based on the good data. Okay, so we're going to talk. This presentation should be very straightforward for all of you. And please, this is a calf chat, Be sure to ask questions, bring some comments on your best practice, and well, here we go, okay? So on the data recording, we basically want to build a history. When the animal is born, right? And some people say even before, when the cows, are pregnant and they come in, but from the calf standpoint, when they are born, okay, all the way to the growing period, the breeding and the calving. So we can have a complete understanding and a consistent data, okay, and how we can turn all this information that we gather and we turn that into decision for nutrition, for health, for growth, for reproduction. And the most important of the dairy industry is the economics, right? We need to be profitable. So Julian, you made a comment about some says that we can hear. So I want to supplement that with this. If it's not recorded, right, correctly and on time, it never happened, okay? You cannot go to a dairy or to a calf operation and say, yeah, that animal got good colostrum administration. Oh, that animal, he had a problem at the calving time, or he's growing 2 pounds per day. If you don't have it, it never happened, and it's not a good practice to guess or basically make decision of what happened before based on saying or based on history that the people is telling you. Okay, all the animals outcome, the labor, the profitability, the compliance, right, is better achieved if we have fewer unknowns. Okay, we need to gather as much information as we could or as we can to make better decisions. So you need to plan and look how recorded data will be used, okay? And then you need to use it. If you are recording data and you're not using that information, basically it gets forgotten, right? And the people start saying, hey, what are we doing that? And I have seen that at the calf operation at the dairy many times. And the people say that they're using the scanner, they're using different ways to record data. And say, hey, I don't know why we're doing this. Nobody looks at this. I don't know why we're doing that. And with time, that particular, practice start getting, forgotten and start getting away, and people stop recording data. And we don't want that. We want to encourage to the people. And something that I have seen a good practice, explain to the people, to the workers, to the people that is recording the data, why we're doing that, why we're recording, why it's important for the dairy, why the managers are using it, how they are using it, and the decision that we are making. When you make that, a step of communicating how we're using the data and why we're doing that, that's when everything gets better at the dairy or at the calf operation. Okay. So let's talk a little bit of the most captured records, and let's talk from birth to winning age. We're talking here on the calf and heifer. So I'm not going to read all of them. You can see it. But basically in every stage, maternity, housing, all the nutrition that we use through the early stage, all the health, right? Health event, vaccination, removals. Those are data that we need to gather, right? Sometimes I go to calf operation and I try to look at the record system, and you don't see a lot of information, and you start wondering, okay, how can we make better decision, right? These people are having a lot of pneumonia or a lot of early diarrhea. Okay, what is a lot? What is the percentage? I mean, are we in 10%, 50%, 40%? What is the mortality? Are we recording, all the freshening the same time? Are we recording all the events? Are we over recording? What is happening here? So look at that list, and I'm pretty sure that you guys in your calf operation or in your dairy, you have a lot of those, okay? And when you go back and look at your record system, see, okay, what are these measures that we are not recording and that we can do to get a better performance on our animals, okay? So, and I don't know if you want to participate here, but if I ask the people, if I ask the audience, what are maybe the three best or events that we need to record for calf, what would you say? And Julian, you can share that with me if you have your 3 favorites, or if you see, I cannot see the chat, but maybe the people can type that. Okay, I'm gonna give 4 or 5 seconds and see if somebody jumps.
Yeah, I'm waiting here also, Juan. But for sure, one of them, no matter what, is colostrum intake. Yes, no. Health, the major ones, and you have there in the right side of the screen the health events. The major ones will be scours and pneumonia, the 2 of them, and yeah, mortality is a big one. Death event, diet, death will be the last one, the top 3 for me. I don't know if you are going to cover the reasons for diet. That's something that's also something that is really, really important. Is okay, the calf or the heifer died, but why? What was the reason of diet?
Excellent. So I'll go that colostrum, growth, and disease. Excellent, Julian. We have hammered this topic: colostrum management, colostrum intake, total zero protein. That is the key, right? And we always say the day 1 of the first hour of the animal is the most important. Okay, growth. You want to know also, what is the average daily gain, how they're growing, if your nutrition program, your meal program or meal replacement, how they are helping there, the grain intake, all that stuff. And I totally agree with you. Disease events. My favorites are very similar to yours, right? Pneumonia, diarrhea, salt. If you're selling those animals, why are you selling them, or where are they going? And die, right? And I agree with you. We need to have, as Dr. Kirpati used to say, a death certificate. Every animal that died at the operation, we need to have the reason why they died. That gives great data, invaluable data to see what is happening at the operation. I mean, are they dying because of the pneumonia, or because of diarrhea, or because of injuries? So that's very important. Okay. And I put that capture them consistently. It has to be consistent every day, every week, every month, right? In the same events, the same codes if you have. Okay. Perfect. So let's jump here to the heifers. Let's talk a little bit about after weaning and up to the breeding. Okay. Some of them that I want to also point to all the audience. Okay. All the management that you have, the nutrition, where do you move them? When do you move them? The age at weaning, the age at breeding, the growth, right? You can track that growth in different stage, 120 day, 150 day. Usually it's easier when you have some events tied to that, right? Like moving to the weaning pen, you wait there. Okay, they're going to the breeding, pregnancy checks, and of course, keep recording the health. Okay, there are some people that they believe that, okay, after 120, 150 days, those animals are already out of all those biggest events when they are young, like diarrhea, pneumonia, and they kind of stop a little bit or neglect that late stage. And I encourage the people to keep doing it. Okay, it's important to have a lot of information. Okay, so on the heifers, this record should demonstrate this, that animal, that heifer grew healthy, right? And to target, depending on the target that you have on your dairy, okay? That she got pregnant and that she remained pregnant, and was able to deliver a calf, okay? All this is tied together with the inventory management, right? Because you want to have in your pipeline all these animals that are coming, okay, that are getting bred, that are getting pregnant, and that are delivering, the calves. So your pipeline, your dairy keeps that flow of heifers that is gonna, become the milking herd. Okay. All right. So before going to standardize, any question around here? Any comment?
I do have one in the chat, Juan, and is what information do you see teams commonly overlook and record inconsistently?
Okay. I see the diet event very inconsistent on the reason. Okay. Sometimes you see the diet event and there is no reason, or they put sometimes ill or sick or unknown. So we don't have a good information there. Sometimes on the colostrum, we would like a lot of good management over there. And I have seen people that they tell, hey, you need to give colostrum, half hour after calving. And then you see, okay, colostrum, animal 1, 2, 3, 4, born at 10, colostrum 10:30, born at 11, at 11:30. So we know that is not real data, right? Some of the events that I see also is the diarrhea. Okay, diarrhea and pneumonia. I have some examples later. I see some pneumonia day 1, day 2, day 3. Okay, that's, I don't know. I don't want to say that it's totally impossible, but it's very, very difficult to have some pneumonia over there at that early age. Maybe the animal are having some diarrhea and they're having some acidosis and they're breathing, harder, and the people confuse that. So anyway, all those events need to be clear. The people need to be trained and it to be consistent, so we have a better day. Okay. Any other question? Yes, sir.
But in that area, I mean, how, as a dairy manager or as a calf raiser manager, how can I promote that standardization of recording, or how can I promote that the data that I'm recording is consistent?
Yes. One, we need to be training the people that are gonna record those events, okay, and tell them what are the events that we want and what will be the remarks or the code that we're gonna have, okay. Because the second, I will say, you need to limit those events and those codes in your record system. If you leave it open, it's gonna be a mess, okay, because everybody's gonna type different, okay. 2 weeks ago, I was analyzing a calf operation, and I got in the remark from the treatment for pneumonia 162 different codes for the anti-infective that they were using. It was crazy, right? So it took me a while, okay, to realize, okay, let me put all these are the drugs and all these are the seed, and let me standardize those. But I will say, train the people, talk to your record system, support, limit those events, limit those remarks or those codes, okay? And be sure, to audit once in a while and say, okay, we're doing a good job, explain to people what are we doing it, and in that way you can standardize those codes, okay?
Juan, thank you. I just want to add in that as an example. I mean, every operation has a different a software manager. But for example, in Dairycom, we will have the protocols table, and in DCHA Plus, we will have the RX system that it has to be up to date to record what you are saying, to minimize these hundreds and hundreds of different options.
Exactly. The software system, the data management system, they provide a great support, every single one of them. So rely on them, call them, tell them to help you. So that's a good practice. Okay, if any other question, I'm going forward. Okay, so let's prevent messy data. We were talking about that. Let's create standard codes. Okay, you can do it in your computer with the software system. Okay, try to limit or reduce or even eliminate the free text that the personnel can write it down or type whatever they want. That's when you create a lot of problems, okay? And that standardization is going to make the data that you can compare, right? In pen, in staff, in time, and they're going to be able to give you those key performance index that we want, okay? What are my average daily gain, you know, up to 60 days or to winning, or what is my pneumonia incidence rate, etc., okay? So Dr. My Boy told me, hey, put on a slide about events and items, because sometimes you get that confused. Some people, you know, can confuse those. Okay. And basically I put kind of the concept there that I found in their webpage. So event is what happened and when. Okay. So an event, pneumonia. So this animal 1234 has a pneumonia on April 2nd. Okay. And that's what we gave to them, right? Events, diarrhea. That's an event, okay? The items are values that they basically carry over time, okay? So birthday, if you're doing genomic, 31 profit dollar index, that's an item that is going to be there. Some people, I mean, total zero proteins actually is items that I see a lot of time as events, right? And maybe it's because the people like to track them. So you see sometimes protein as an event, and you can see sometimes also the total zero proteins as items. I've seen people to record both ways, okay? But if this can be kind of a clarification here, events is what is happening, okay? Or what happened to those animals when that happened. Again, the easiest example is the events of diarrhea or the pneumonia or when they die, okay? And the items are what is true. It's a value that they take with themselves, okay? What was the birthday? What was the winning day? What was the total zero protein? What is the genomic value for those items, okay? So I like this phrase that I found when I was making the presentation. Consistency beats complexity, okay? Make it easier. Have your own language in your diary that everybody understands and record those that data consistency. So an example here, and sometimes that we need to correct, okay? Hopefully you're seeing my stuff. So when somebody tell me, okay, this animal died and die for other or die or sick some other, this is an information that I cannot really analyze sometimes and say, okay, what happened? Okay, sick of what? It was diarrhea, it was pneumonia. What happened? Other, dying of what? It was what? A coyote that ate them. So we need to try to minimize those remarks and those ambiguous terms, as I put over there, like sick, other, ills, and those terms that don't give us a good information, and so we can make decision on those, okay, based on those. This is a good example that I was the other day analyzing a dairy. So, okay, events, die. Look at this, okay. Die from pneumonia, injury, and scour. So I can start plotting my graphics and looking, okay, from my death on those animals, what is the percentage for pneumonia? What is the percentage for diarrhea or for injuries, right? If I see one of those, okay, popping up, okay, you know that we need to make some decision and take some actions about that particular disease or condition that we're having, okay? This is an example of those reports, okay? This is a tool that we use, the Zoetis, we call it the Zoetis called Visuals, and we have to give all the credit to Dr. Mark Patrick on this. But for example, this is a data that I was pulling for incident rates in pneumonia in the hutches on those animals. And I was able to compare. I started working with this dairy years ago, and we saw that we were having some different problems with pneumonia. If you see the animals, right, die, we were up very high sometimes, and we, doing some different, intervention, we were able to decrease it. Okay. Same for the pneumonia in the hutches. If you see the way that the pneumonia in the hutches was getting down, also our mortality coming down. Okay, so my point of this is, if you have better data, if you're doing a good input over there, if you're recording consistently with limited codes, okay, we are able to create reports. We are able to detect what is happening and create actions to, to improve our operation. Okay. This is another one. Well, I'm going to bring here Dr. Mike Overton also, right? This is the Dairy Wellness Optics. This is a tool that we have at Zoetis also. It's a great tool that we have these reports, and actually 80% of these reports are proprietary from Zoetis, that they can give you, information to take a decision financially or any particular. It's a very complete hub that we have. Okay, you got any information, reach out to your Zoetis rep or reach out to me. I'll be happy to give more information about this. Okay, but for example, this is, let me clear this graphic for you. This is age of first pneumonia. So every month we have that information. Okay, and we can have also the average. So if you see that, okay, when can we do an intervention? Okay, should we do an intervention at 30 days? On September, we had a problem and we fix it. Okay, what is happening there? Anyway, again, the message is better data, better input is going to be better outcome, better decisions. Okay. All right. Make it easy for the people. That's the other one. Okay. Record it as fast as you can at the point where the situation is happening. Okay. Where the work happens. Okay. Forget and actually try to minimize that end of the day memory. Hey, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna record it at the end of the day, and they come to the computer. Hey, what cow had this situation? What we put here? Sometimes you see those notepads or papers that are all full of organic matter, sometimes very dirty, and you cannot read sometimes the numbers. Okay, so if you record at the point of care and you report with a device, is better. Okay, so that's gonna allow you to have fewer mistreatment, fewer errors, and of course the people who is recording that is gonna have better adoption, right? Because they truly see why they're doing it, and they're doing it in a consistent way. Okay, so design your system for the people that is doing the work. Okay, we have different levels of people working at the dairies. Okay, manager, treaters, doctors. We have the people who feed. Okay, so design that system for all of them, what is easy for them. Okay, and if you can have that entry as fast as you can, it's going to have better compliance. Okay, don't delay that entry. And well, I'm gonna put this advertisement for the scanners and the one. This is one of the best ways that we're doing it right now at the dairies. And update your system. I have seen a lot of systems that are not working properly sometimes. They are not updated. They are not reading, and that creates a lot of problem at the dairies, right? They are not refreshed daily or every time that you record events. So you can create some situations that I'll show you in a little bit, some examples. Okay, so I'm going to do my second pause here. Julian, any question before going to quality controls?
There is a comment, there is a question here. Yes, and I think it's a perfect time on this question, because you just mentioned on the tools that we have for data collection. So basically, one of the questions is, how can I maximize good quality data entry?
Basically, I believe that maximizing good data entry is, having a consistent report that comes from that, analyzing that report, okay, having a meeting on that, and taking actions. If you are not using that data, it's going to get forgotten. If you're not using that data, you're basically wasting time, okay? And the people are going to get discouraged. So maximizing the data entries has to have a purpose and a goal. And the goal is to create reports that are useful for the dairy and make or take decisions based on those. Okay, that's the way to maximize the data quality. Okay.
Yeah, I think your comment is spot on, Juan. That today's world and today's technology and having the tools you just have in the picture, it allows us to enter the data right away, right in the field. It doesn't need to be paper and then transfer to the office, move it to the office, and then somebody else recording it. It's just time wasting and opportunity for mistakes as well.
And I want to make a question here. That's another situation that has been happening a lot, right? Every consultant comes, get a backup, and create their data, right? So you have nutritionists making reports, Zoetis making reports, other consultants making report, reproduction, veterinarians, etc., right? And sometimes you look at those reports and you see some inconsistency. And that's what the dairymen or the people who manage calf ranches say, okay, what is right? I mean, which one? I mean, this one is telling me 24% mortality. This one is telling me 20%. So where is that 4%? What is happening? Okay. And that is why that standardization is becoming a rule and becoming a focus on a lot of people, right? So I put the example of Dairy Wellness Optics. That is a tool that right now a lot of consultant nutritionists, veterinarians are looking, because that particular tool is able to standardize all those data and provide those reports to everybody, and everybody be on the same page, have the same graphic, and start making better decisions out of that. So that has been a situation that I've seen many, many times. Okay. And it's not easy. Analyze the data and clean the data. That takes a lot of time, right? I go sometimes, I pull the events and I see, well, animals that never had an event that to be born, and they have pneumonia, diarrhea, or dying. Okay, so if you don't have the born events, basically the numerator and denominator will be messed up, and you will have the wrong numbers at the end. Okay.
Yep. Well, there is a question here from LinkedIn. How can I avoid duplicate entries?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Okay, I tell the people, limit, okay, the amount of people that is using the devices, okay, and refresh as soon as you can, okay, and provide also to every person, okay, that is giving you that service to provide the, to record the data, a training and telling them, hey, we're trying to avoid those duplicates. You need to communicate, because what I see is that people record pneumonia, right? And then they finish their shift, and the next shift come and say, hey, here we go, another pneumonia. And you see the same pneumonia the same days, right? And it's because there is lack of communication there, okay? Some of the software system allows you, to pop sometimes if you have for example, we do it in genomic, right? If you are gonna, test those animals, you can put a list and say, oh no, this animal has already been tested. You cannot, duplicate those, so you cannot test it again, okay? You can set that up with your teams, but I believe that the best way is to have everybody on board, everybody trained, okay, and everybody, looking at the data, right? So, for example, if you scan an animal and you are able to see the history of that animal, because the guy from the previous shift, recorded the pneumonia, and he actually refreshed the hair. I mean, delivered all the post, and refresh the hair, you can see, oh, no, this animal was treated this morning, so I'm not going to treat it again. And in that way, you can avoid those, duplicate events, okay? Now, the other stuff is audit your data. We're going to talk a little bit later, right? Audit your data. Look at the events, for that week. You can do that in every software and say, okay, we're doing great. You can talk to your people and say, hey, we don't have any duplicate. Good job, guys. Or we have, 10% of duplicate. Let's pay attention on this. But It's more of the communication and the process.
Thank you, Juan. Just a reminder, keep sending your questions, and there is nothing here at the moment, Juan. But again, please keep them coming. I'll keep monitoring here, and we'll answer those questions.
Excellent. We're coming there. So quality control, detect all those mistakes, all those errors. If somebody have wrong IDs or weights that doesn't make any sense, or age doesn't make any sense, okay? Keep all the audit of that data ready, and prevent doing management decision based on bad information, okay? So I'm going to have a couple of examples here in the next slides. So the good decision requires that you trust your data, okay? And well, I got this phrase over here: audit your data like you audit your milk quality. There's a lot of people that look at the milk quality, right? Somatic cells, LPC, SPC, colies, and you start looking at that. Okay, if you don't do milking part of the milking process, how many minutes for the lag or pre-lag stay? Anyway, audit your data. If you are in a calf operation, audit your data. Okay, ask help when you don't know why. So here is a report. Okay, for example, and I just put a couple there, but this example, you see it. So this animal got a protein event. So they bled the animals 2 days before she was born. Okay, so the animal birthday was the 14th, and they did the protein the 12th. Okay, what happened? Maybe they didn't refresh the scanner. Maybe the computer got in a different set. So try to look at those mistakes, or animals that have duplicate data, or animals that have wrong average daily gain or breeding age that you don't want, right? Here it is, okay? You can tell me, hey, man, that's a nice report. This is a report for age at the first insemination, okay? So this particular dairy, they want to breed or start breeding those animals around 390 days, around that time, okay? So take a look, audit your data. Why are these heifers, up here in 540 or 512? Why there is, 100 days, 150 days, out of what we should be, doing, okay? So look at those reports, set a time for that, and take the time to do it, okay? Over here, this is another example. Okay, let me clear that graphic for you. This is age at the first pneumonia. This is a report for Dairy Wellness Optics. So between 0 and 10 days, you got over there 14, 33, 49, 42, 33, and 22, right? Pneumonia, okay? So that start giving you to think about, okay, why are we having pneumonia? Is that real? What is the problem here? Okay, why my animals are breaking with supposedly pneumonia in the first 3, 4, 5 days? That probably something that we need to address, to investigate, and maybe fix. Okay, but you cannot do that if you're not, into the reports, auditing them, and looking at them. Okay, so all your records, as we have been talking, needs to be, needs to have a goal, okay? Dairy Calf and Heifer Association has come with this gold standard that I really like it. I look at a lot. I encourage people to look them. This is the 2026 file that we received on the conference, and I encourage everyone to download this document. And you can go to the webpage. If you email me, I'll send it to you also. It's a great, document to have, okay? Now, I will say something. Set your own goals, okay? Caution when you compare to the national benchmark, okay? I have seen people, that they see a benchmark for mortality that say, I don't know, 3%, mortality 3%, or mortality 4%, and then their mortality is at 25%. Do not compare those. take a look at your data and, okay, set a new goal. Okay, I'm 25. I want to decrease, I don't know, in half, in 12%, and then in half, 6%, and then you go down. Okay, same for the average daily gain. I have seen multiple gains. When I go to the Midwest or to the East Coast, I see the average daily gain in the animals, in those areas that are totally sometimes different than what we see here in the Southwest. So use all those information as a reference, but not necessarily as your goals. Okay, set your own goals, guys. Anyway, from the maternity, from nutrition, for health, set the goals. Okay, what is my cooling rate? What do I want to be? What is my age at first calving? Okay, we want to be at 22 months, 24 months, 23 months, etc. What is my winning age and weight? I have seen operation that they want to win the animals around 60 to 70 days. I have seen others that they go at 90 days and they move those animals pretty late, 110 or 120, big animals. I love sometimes see those animals there. Okay, but depending where you go, you're going to see different KPI, different measure. So go into your data and set your own goals. Okay, this is an example of the passive immunity, colostrum, administration, and depending which one do you want to check, if it's a Brix percentage or you want to see, a total protein, you can set those reports depending where they are. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple that I have. This is an operation, okay, that the optimal 75% adequate, almost 19%. Good. Okay. Some people tell me, hey, I want all my animals, 80% of the animals be inadequate and optimal. Okay, I respect that. I don't like it. I always recommend and try for the best one. Hey, I want to have 95%. I don't want 85%. I don't want 80%. I don't want that out of 100 animals, 15 are going to fail or 20 are going to fail. No, try to go and hit for the best approach, right? I probably push the people that I work with in different operations. Hey, let's try 90% or 95% sometimes, okay? That we have failed inadequate, passive transfer. My own, that's my own criteria, okay? But anyway, look at this animal operation that have been improving, 10,000 observations, all these animals over here, and see how they're doing. And why this is important, I'm going to give this example. The animals in the colostrum that failed have 25% of mortality, okay, versus 10% of the animals that got optimal. This is a graphic that repeats every time that we see calf ranches and maternities and calf operation, okay? This is what is important. If I have my animals 95% over optimal and adequate, that's what I want, okay? Excellent. Another stuff on the audits. So I was looking at this dairy the other day, playing around with the Dairy Wellness Optics tool. And I look at this particular dairy, right? These are heifers to reach the breeding age. And I noticed in this particular one that there is a breed, okay, that is becoming more popular around here, but it's other ones, okay? I was wondering, okay, what does that mean? Are we working with Holstein that is mostly of our hair? Are we having dairy crossbred? I don't see around. Why are we recording so many, the last 3-4 months, on the other one? Okay. But every time that you audit your data, you can see those mistakes and you can fix those as soon as you can. Okay.
Juan, there is a question. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
but now that you said audit and you mentioned about audits, there is a question here from in platform. It says, can AI help with these audits? If so, well, got an example.
Yeah, so I believe that AI will help with those audits, right? We need to find how to do it, okay? So for example, if I download my report in Excel, okay, and I tell probably AI, I say, hey, I have this event, pneumonia, diarrhea, and I just want to know from that pneumonia or from the dead animal, which one have consistent data, what animal died from pneumonia for diarrhea, and what are inconsistent data. I'm pretty sure that you will start, coming with some reports, right? You see, dairy wellness opting is not a totally AI software by any way, but on the back, there is a lot of AI helping, to fit those systems. Okay. So if the question is, could AI help to those audits? I believe they could. What we need to find is a way that we can download for the software system, right? A report and feed those AI tools and tell us what it is, right? And that is probably the challenge. Okay. Download an Excel report that I have, the birthday, the item, anything, and will and make the tool to analyze that. I do think that AI will be helping a lot of software system, and it's already doing it, right? I've seen, for example, last week, Dr. Mike Ball sent a report that he was generating, looking at some data for milk production, and he put some information in the AI, and the AI gave some interesting data, right? Hey, here is your average, your mean, your quartile, etc., etc. Yeah, I do agree. Now, before that, you need to know what are the questions that you're going to ask that tool, is what are the questions that you're looking for, and have, clear data, right? So in my opinion, have first the process to do those audits, but I'm pretty sure the AI can help, of course.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you.
All right. So your KPI should answer if you're meeting your goals, what is the bottleneck, okay? If you only try the final outcomes, you're too late. You need to identify those leading metrics, okay, the early indicators whenever it's possible, right? And I'm going to give an example here, okay? If you say, oh my goodness, all my animals are fretching at 26 months, right? And you don't know why it's happening. Why is that? Because you're not getting the weight that you need. You're not doing the first insemination the right time. You don't have an age at conception. Meaning that if you're only tracking your goals and you're not looking all that data that it takes, place from the beginning of the age of those animals, the birth weight, the pneumonia cases, the diarrhea cases, the weight at different stages, a weaning age, when are we breeding those animals? You're too late to make decisions. Okay, so track all those leading indicators on those data that you are recording. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead, Julian, a little bit because I have 2 more slides, so we have at least 10 minutes for questions. So compliance, traceability, and risk management. Okay, those records are gonna help you also in any problems to have drug documentation use, food safety, milk withhold, beef withhold. Okay, when you have some welfare situation, right? Support the welfare programs, the audits, the internal accountability for all the areas that you're managing. Okay, so the records protect the farm when something goes wrong. Okay, keep those records the same way that you're keeping, the training that you're doing to your people, the training that you're doing in your different areas. You have your records over there. Okay, it's not optional anymore, right? In our dairy industry. Okay, and to finish, just one slide. Main message that we have: if you are not recording consistently, okay, it never happened. It has to be recorded correctly, consistently, and it needs to be analyzed. Okay, better outcomes, labor efficiency, and the profitability is going to be better if you don't have those unknowns or you don't have information. Make decision based on information, on the right information, on the consistent information. Okay, and compliance and risk management. It was the last point that I wanted to bring because we always need to be aware of the animal welfare and all that practice that assure the animal well-being. Okay, anyway, I will say thank you. I think we have around 10 minutes for any question or any comments. Julian, anything in the chat, anything that you want to add, please.
Juan, there is nothing new in the chat here. Basically, going back to the audits, how often do you think that it's a good idea to review those records, to make some audits, to evaluate? How often do you think that is the more appropriate?
I will say at least every 3 months. If you're having a lot of inconsistency and problem, because every 3 months you're going to be able to talk, okay, what happened in this 3 months? Okay, let's make the decision and come out. If you cannot do it every 3 months because it's, you're too busy, you're different stuff, at least every 6 months. Okay. Every 6 months, if you want to put, for example, new data, because you want to do some profitability analysis or anything, is the way that we try to do it. Okay. What is the cost of the heifer replacement? What is the beef crossbred cost? And you want to analyze different of those stuff, you can do every 6 months. So don't wait 1 year, 2 years to do that. If you can do it every 3 months, will be great. And if not, at least every 6 months. That's my opinion.
What those audits should include, Juan? What every, like you said, every 3 months or every 6 months, what should be there?
Well, I believe that's depending what you want to measure. If we're talking about calf operation, you have to, the birth animal born, it has to be consistency and well documented, right? You need to have the health events, at least pneumonia, diarrhea, and any other that is important for you. Death, is a must, right? And the reason why, okay, and so those 5 are for me. Okay, then you have the weight that is important. Okay, so if you want to test what happened in my hutches, those are 6, 7 that you have to do. Yeah, you have to add it. Okay, let me see how many of those animals, that have events don't have a born event. Okay, because you need to have the numerator again and denominator. Right. Okay. Are we recording all those? Are we having, the colostrum? That's another important. Are we having every single one? If that is your goal, to bleed every single one of those calves. Okay. Do we have all those animals? Is this the right numbers, right? If I start seeing, sometimes I see 11, 12, 13 total zero protein, unless they are really dehydrated, that's a totally bad numbers, right? So yeah. For the hutches, born, salt, dye, pneumonia, diarrhea, weight, and colostrum. Okay, audit those. Okay.
Let me probably rephrase that one with this question. It's coming from LinkedIn. One, it says, if a farm does not record anything in a software system related to health events, weight events, etc., what would be number 1 item to start recording?
Okay, if the question is about calf, that I'm guessing, okay?
Yep. If a dairy doesn't record anything, what would be the number 1 data? What number 1 item to start recording?
Well, from the events, from the health events, it has to be diarrhea. You need to record that because that will affect that, and pneumonia because that will affect all the production of that animals. Okay. Yep. Now, that's from the health events. If I want to go out of the health events, you need to record the colostrum, right? And you need to record the death. Okay. Yep. But if you want to focus just on health events and you want me to pick between diarrhea and pneumonia, that's a tough one. But, diarrhea is usually the first 20, 25 days, and pneumonia comes after, 35 to, etc., 60 days, right? But, that's important. So I would say, if you in your operation, you say, man, I have more diarrhea than pneumonia, pneumonia is not a big deal for me, well, maybe you pick that diarrhea. Okay.
That same questions come with a complement. Yes, a second part. It says, what would be your top 3 items? That's talking now about items.
Well, I'll say total zero protein is an item, right? That some people put in, like, again, also that's an important to me. That's a super important. Okay. The item that I can put also over there, if you have genomic information, that's an item that should be important when you have it. Okay. the winning date is important for me because I can track what is happening before the winning and after the winning. Okay, that's something that I like to actually, limit. Okay, what is happening in my hotel? What is happening over there? Okay.
Perfect. Right now, Juan, I don't see any other questions. Probably a comment that I have now that we always we focus on the front end of record keeping, and you mentioned and you covered on scours, pneumonia. Sometimes we failed, or sometimes we don't do it as often. The heifer inventory, total heifer inventory analysis that is going to help us also to relate what's happening in the mature lactating herd. It's what we are doing in the lactating herd according to cooling and how many animals are leaving the herd. It's that matching what the heifer inventory is giving us. So any comment on that, Juan?
Yeah, it's important to track that out, right? There is a number that some people use. Okay, how many of those animals born are able to make it to the milking herd, right? How many they were able to grow, to keep healthy, to get bred, to deliver a calf and start going over there, right? You will be impressed sometimes in those numbers. I encourage everybody to look at those numbers at your dairy, okay? But that is important because you need to have the right pipeline going and filling every spot so you can maximize, the milk production and every stall that you have at your dairy, right? So if you are tracking that inventory management when they are young, okay, when they are 6 months, 7 months, and you say, well, I need 400 animals per month and I have 600 heifer, that's pretty cool. And at the end, you have a 50% mortality or 40%, you will not ever to fill that out, right? And on the other side, also, if you have more excess heifer, right, that you don't have a use for it, that you might have to consider, okay, how can I, implement a program that I produce the right amount and I maximize, those extra heifer, or I can put beef animals, crossbred, etc., so I can increase my profitability. Okay, so inventory management is key, and it's a start, knowing what is your incidence rate, your mortality, your cooling, and how many of those animals that are being born are making it to the milking herd. That's really important. Okay.
Thank you, Juan. I don't have anything else in the chat. I just want to take the opportunity to remind everyone we are going to have the same presentation in Spanish on Thursday, and that's going to be at the same time. So there is one. Juan, there is one. Yeah, we do have 1 minute question. So there is a question coming in the chat right now from YouTube channel. We run calf focus groups identified as important in highlighting calves as being at risk of needing intervention, so they are watched more closely. Do you find benefit in early intervention?
Absolutely. And that's the importance of the analysis of the data and keep up with that data, and you need to manage all those leading indicators that you have, right? So for example, if you're going to have age at first breeding, right? And you're not tracking the average daily gain, what is the grain consumption, the meal program, what is the total cellular protein? Yes. No, early intervention is the best one. I totally agree with that comment. Yeah. And I encourage the people that do not, live 1 year, 2 years without analyzing your data and use, because you will be surprised sometimes. Again, if you don't measure, you don't see it, and you think everything is going well. And on the early young, the calf that you're saying, that's what you have to do, right? If you have early intervention when they have the colostrum at the maternity and all that stuff, you will set them for a good start and for a better health. Okay, so absolutely, yeah. Those calf groups, focus group, are important, because there is a lot of information that we share around those groups. But absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Yep. Excellent question, because it's early intervention and allow us to make better management decisions. Definitely.
Yeah.
And
there is some more question. Hey, I can stay some minutes. I know that we're over the hour, but I'm fine, so no worries. Okay. But
yep.
Thank you.
Yep. We are flexible on time. Thank you, Juan. And if you have any other comment or questions, please feel free to send it in the comment section.
Yeah. No, and I would like to say thank you again. Remember the Spanish presentation on Thursday, same times. Okay. You have over there on the screen our emails. If anyone wants to reach out to me or to Dr. Julian Casas, we'll be happy to help. Any question that we can, answer or help to find information, we're happy to. Okay. Thank you to the Dairy Calf and Heifer Association. Thank you to Dr. Casas for your comments and your help. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon in a new calf chat. Hopefully they invite me again. Thank you so much.
We're gonna see you. I'm gonna see you on Thursday. Te veo el jueves.
Gracias. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.